Hello dear students, welcome to lecture number 5 of measurements and instrumentation. Today we will be going through different forces that operate in deflecting type of instruments. In general, the operation of electrical instruments can be explained something like this. You have some current that is flowing through the instrument. This current produces some effect. This effect can be magnetic heating, chemical, electrostatic, electromagnetic induction, some effect. Okay, some effect is being produced. This produces sometimes a force. If it is a chemical effect directly, it indicates some value. In most of the cases, it produces a force which in turn causes deflection of the pointer. Okay, and the pointer will move over a graduated scale which indicates the reading. So this is what happens generally in different deflection type of instruments. The different operating torques or operating forces which develop in electrical instrument or the deflection type of instrument are deflecting force or deflecting torque TD, controlling force or controlling torque TC, and you have damping force or damping torque. So always you have these three forces associated with the instrument which helps us to indicate the reading accurately. Now deflecting force is required to move the pointer from initial or zero position, which makes use of any one of the effect which is listed earlier. Now the deflection torque or deflecting torque causes the pointer to deflect to the final position in the dial. That is, you have only deflecting torque in the in your instrument. You have dials like this, and this is your initial position of your pointer. Now if you have only deflecting torque in the system, what happens? You have some force which is applied on this pointer and which causes this pointer to move to the final value. Okay, so ultimately your pointer will be here if you have only deflecting torque in the system. Okay, your pointer will be shift towards end. So in order to avoid that, because suppose my reading is here, this is my reading, this is the point where I need to stop my pointer. If I have only deflecting force, I may not be able to do it because deflecting force always tend to deflect the pointer to the maximum value. Now in order to control the deflecting torque, you have controlling force or controlling torque. It is acting opposite to the deflecting force, and as we have already seen, you have a pointer at initial position. Due to TD, it is deflected, and because you have a TC, which is the controlling force in the opposite direction, your pointer will be coming to rest at the desired point. When your TD is balanced by TC, your pointer will come to steady state. So the function of TC is to provide an output which is proportional to input, that is, in order to control the TD or in order to balance TD, or provide an output which is proportional to input. And also when your input is removed, your pointer is currently now at this position. Now once the input is removed, what happens? Your deflecting torque will be 0. Okay, once the deflecting torque is 0, what happens? The pointer is at this position. Only since you have a TC, your pointer can move back to the 0 position. If your TC is not there, what happens? Pointer might be staying here because your TD is being removed. Okay, so you should have some mechanism of controlling torque to bring your pointer back to the 0 position. Okay, so again, the function of TC is to provide an output which is proportional to input by balancing TD, and also once the input is removed, when your TD is equal to 0, what happens? Your pointer has to be brought back to the initial position or 0 position. Again, you have a third type of force which is known as damping force. Now this damping force is required to reduce the number of oscillations at steady state. That is, this is your required position and your pointer is starting from 0 position and it is moving in this direction. So once the pointer reaches here, you will have some oscillations like this. You will have some oscillation of the pointer at this position. So after this oscillation, it will be settling down to this value. Okay, so that oscillation has to be minimized and it has to quickly come to the final value. Now the damping force, what the damping force does is that it will reduce the speed of the pointer so that number of oscillations can be reduced. So if your damping force is not there, it may overshoot this value, and then you'll have large number of oscillations. So in order to reduce the oscillations at this required point or the steady state, you'll have some damping torque which is being provided. Now we'll look at different mechanisms to produce each of these forces. So we will see one by one in detail. So remember, you have a deflecting torque which is produced by one of the effects, any one of the effect of the current, which will be balancing the control torque which is provided opposite to TD in order to balance the pointer at the desired position, and in order to reduce the number of oscillations at that point, you have this damping torque. Now the mechanism of producing the deflecting torque. The main conditions that we need to consider is that your deflecting mechanism should consume minimum power. So this deflecting mechanism will be consuming some power, because for this moment, for the movement of the pointer, it will consume some power. So it has to be minimum, and the weight of the moving system, as well as the frictional forces opposing the movement has to be minimum. So this weight and the frictional forces will result in more power being used up in order to operate or in order to produce this TD. So what we can do is that you can make the moving parts light by using aluminum as the material of the moving part, and also you can use jewel bearing. Okay, so jewel bearing in the sense you'll have a pivot. Okay, you'll have a pivot and pointer is attached to this pivot. So this pivot, this shaft will be pivoted like this. It's a wedge shaped thing. It's three-dimensionally it will be there. It's a wedge shaped thing. So your shaft will be here. So shaft will be rotating in this within these two jewel bearings. So you'll have a pointer which is attached. So once the shaft rotates, the pointer moves. So this jewel bearing helps to reduce the frictional forces that are there during the operation. Again, your torque to weight ratio should be high. That is, compared to weight of the moving system, the moving system has to produce appreciable amount of torque to make your pointer move or deflect. So torque to weight ratio should be high. That is, torque divided by weight of the moving part should be high. Now you have some mechanisms, 2 or 3 mechanisms to produce deflection torque. First one is force between permanent magnet and a current carrying coil. So you have north and south indicated here, so which is permanent magnet in nature. So you have meter terminals. So here your current will be entering here, it will be flowing through a coil here, and it will be moving out. So when the current passes through this coil, some magnetic field is generated. Okay, already you have magnetic field of the permanent magnet. So once you have interaction of these two magnetic fields, what happens? You'll have a force being generated on this moving system. The movable coil induces pointer movement due to the interaction of these two fields. Okay, so this is one type of mechanism by which you can produce the deflecting torque. Now second type is you have two coils, two current carrying coils. Here this current is basically the current that is being measured, or the current that is being given to the meter. You have meter like this. Okay, you have two terminals. So the current goes in, and then you have current moves out. So those are the terminals being indicated here. So here you have current is going in, and ultimately current is moving out. Okay, so this is not a permanent magnet, these are electromagnets. So only once your current is flowing, your magnetic effects will come into picture. So because of the once the current starts flowing, what happens? You'll have some flux being generated in this region. So one of these coils are moving and the other one is fixed. So here this one is fixed, and this particular coil is movable. Okay, and due to the interaction of these fields, you'll have some force generated on this coil, and this movable coil will be moving and over this graduated scale, so you'll have deflection being produced. And the third mechanism is you have force between a current carrying coil and a soft iron disc. So you have current carrying coil here, so here current is going in and your current is moving out here. So near to this current carrying coil you are placing a soft iron disc. Okay, so this soft iron disc will be attracted or repelled based on the magnitude of the current, direction of the current. So based on that, this soft iron disc is movable. So this soft iron disc is connected, or pointer is attached to the soft iron disc, which moves over the graduated scale. Again, here the fixed coil is producing the magnetic field and the soft iron disc is moving under the influence of this magnetic field. So this is the third mechanism to produce the deflection torque. So we have seen three mechanisms to produce deflection torque. First one is you have force between permanent magnet and one current carrying coil. The second one is force between two current carrying coils, which are not permanent magnets, rather electromagnets. And the third one is force between a current carrying coil and a soft iron disc. Now we'll move to the mechanism for producing control torque. So what is the purpose of control torque? It is to balance the deflection torque. Then only you will have a steady state condition. So the first mechanism that we use for producing control torque is spring control. That is the easiest method that we can follow. So you'll have springs attached to the moving system, and one end of the and the spring will be fixed. So once a pointer moves, what happens, or once a moving system actuates, what happens is that one of the springs will be contracting and the other will be expanding. That's how it works. One of the spring will compress and the other will expand, and during compression what happens, it stores energy. Okay, and this compression of the spring produces a force which is opposing the deflection force. Okay, and once the deflection force is removed, what happens, the stored energy in the spring is released and the pointer is brought back to the initial position or zero position. Okay, so the pointer during the operation, pointer will come to rest when your TD is equal to TC. Okay, and at that time one of your springs will be twisted, or it will be in compressed position and the other will be in expanded position. Okay, and generally your TC is proportional to theta, or directly proportional to the angle by which it moves. So we will see the derivation later, and you will get a uniformly spaced scale or uniform scale. And in spring control, your deflection force is proportional to current. Okay, once you have a current flowing in the system, your deflection force can be thought to be proportional to current, and your with spring control, your TC, that is the torque being produced, is proportional to theta. Okay, and in the final deflection position, and TD will be proportional to theta, or theta will be proportional to this current that is flowing in this system. Depending on the current, you will have deflection in the system. Or TC can be given as Kc into theta, or Kc is the spring constant. Now you can remember is that the deflection of the spring will be depending on the current that is flowing. If you have more current flowing, your compression of the spring will be more. So more energy will be stored in the spring, so that once the current is removed, the spring will be coming, the energy will be released and your pointer will be brought back to the zero position. And the spring that we use is made of phosphor bronze, the material that is used, and it is generally non-magnetic, and it is not subjected to, it should not be subjected to fatigue, and it should have low resistivity. In certain cases, in like permanent magnet moving coil, the spring carries the current, so the resistivity of the spring has to be minimum, and temperature coefficient of resistance also has to be minimum, because it should not, the temperature resistance of the spring should not vary with respect to the variation in temperature, because it is carrying the current. And advantages of spring control is that it has a linear relationship. It can be used both horizontal as well as vertical positions of the meter. And the disadvantage include aging and temperature effects. Once the temperature increases, the stiffness of the spring reduces, and the reading, the control torque reduces, and the reading will be more than the actual. So the pointer may overshoot than the actual value. So that is one of the temperature effects that this spring control mechanism has as a disadvantage. Now, second type of controlling mechanism is gravity control. So you have a small control weight attached to the moving mechanism. Okay, and this control weight will be controlling the or producing a torque which is opposing the deflecting torque. You will have a balance weight also provided in order to balance out the control weight. And the position of the control weight can be adjusted in order to provide sufficient amount of torque. Now, once the current flows through the deflecting mechanism, we will have deflection torque produced, and deflecting torque produces some theta. Okay, and once this entire moving system is deflected, we will have the weight of the instrument which is moving downwards, and you will have W sin theta component trying to bring the this particular weight to the initial position. So you can see here that you have W here, this is W sin theta, and this is theta, and this is W cos theta. So this component, sin theta component, will be trying to bring your pointer to the initial position. So this is the initial position. So here your pointer has deflected by theta degrees. So you'll have some force being generated here, or the control force torque being generated in terms of W sin theta. So that will be bringing your pointer back to normal position once your TD is removed, or it will be balancing out the TD. Okay, and your control torque is proportional to the sin theta of this particular thing. At steady state, your TD becomes equal to DC, that you know. And the advantages of gravity control is that it is cheap and is not affected by temperature variations generally. And with respect to time, there is no variation in the performance, and it is not subjected to fatigue also. The scale is not uniform because your deflection is proportional to sine of angle sin theta, so the scale may not be uniform, and it is generally not used in portable instruments, and in most of the cases in portable instruments spring control is used, and in your lab for PMMC instruments you will have spring control mechanism. And the gravity control instrument has to be used in vertical position so that control weight may operate. Okay, so also you have to use a leveled surface, otherwise it will be showing zero error, or even if you are not measuring anything, you will have some reading in the meter, negative reading in the meter. So such errors are due to the gravity control instruments not being leveled properly or not being kept in a leveled surface. So such type of issues may arise while you go for gravity control. Then third type of torque is damping torque. So we have already seen deflecting torque and control torque and mechanisms for those. And the third type of torque is damping torque. Generally we have such a graph associated with different damping mechanisms. That is, you have three types of damping defined, that is critically damped, over damped, and under damped. I'll take a simple example to explain this curve. So you have petrol being filled into your tank, into your car. Okay, so while we are filling the petrol, what happens? Suppose you are trying to fill 6 liters of petrol. Okay, and this straight line indicates 6 liter. So you start filling the petrol into the tank and you reach 6 liters, you have to stop. Now if it is in the case of under damped, what happens? you will go beyond 6 liters slightly, and then later you come back. You have such control mechanisms available, but in the case of filling the petrol, it is not possible, because once you are filled more than 6 liters, you are not able to come back to 6 liters again. Now what you can do, you can go for critically damped system, where your value will be just critical. That is, you have 6 liters being filled. Exactly once you are filling 6 liters, you stop. Again, once you go for over damped system, what happens? You are get to 6 liters, but it is very slow. You are taking more time to fill in the tank. Okay, so if you are going to fill a petrol into the tank, what happens? You can make use of a critically damped case, where your petrol is just filling in and you are stopping. But what will be the case for a measuring system, where you are trying to dampen out the oscillations of a pointer? Here you will not be going for critically damped or over damped, rather you will be going for slightly underdamped system. Remember, you are not going for overdamped or critically damped, you will have slightly underdamped system. That is, you are trying to measure 50 volt, okay, and you are trying to measure 50 volt. This is a point where your pointer has to end up. Now what happens is that you will be allowing the pointer to start from 0, come to this point and move slightly ahead of 50, and then ultimately settle at this value. Okay, so that is how you design your damping mechanism. Because inherently, if you have any issue with the damping system, if you are using critically damped, you may not reach 50. You will so that is one issue with critically damped or over damped system, if you have any issue with the system. So you'll be going for slightly under damped, that is, you'll have some oscillations in the system. So this is, here you can see that you have one oscillation. And again, if you go for critically damped, what happens? You have no oscillation, you will directly come and stop at this point. Suddenly your pointer will stop. You have no oscillations. Critical damped also, it will be slow, but again you will be stopping at this point. But it will take more time. So in case of underdamped, you will have some oscillations. These oscillations may be used to dampen out the two forces that are coacting. You have TD and TC balancing out. Okay, so because of these forces which are acting on the pointer, you will have some energy in the pointer which has to be dampened out. Okay, so for that dampening out, for that mechanism, you will be going for underdamped system, where you will have slight oscillations in the pointer, and ultimately your pointer will be settling down to your desired value. And the mechanisms that are used for providing damping torque, the first one is air friction damping. So you'll have a slight aluminum vane in an air chamber. So once the pointer moves, what happens? This air chamber is filled with air. So once the pointer moves, you'll have pressure of the air also in here. So that will be controlling the or the vane will be controlling the this oscillations. Once the movement is quicker, the damping force will be greater, and when the spindle is at rest, once the pointer is at rest, you'll have no damping force produced. And you have another mechanism which is known as your fluid friction damping. So you'll have a fluid being filled like oil or something, and you'll have veins attached to this rotating spindle. So once the spindle is rotating, shaft is rotating, you'll have pressure of the oil which will be reducing the oscillations. And so TD is more, or the deflection is more or fast, you will have more oscillations which will be quickly dampened out. Okay, but the main drawback is that regular maintenance is required, and you will be generally using mineral oil for the purpose, and the damping force is much greater when compared to air friction damping. And the third type of mechanism is for producing damping torque is known as eddy current damping, which is the most commonly used. And the essential components are, you should have a permanent magnet, and generally you have light conducting disc of aluminum. These two make up your eddy current damping. So the damping mechanism is explained here. So what happens is that we'll have a permanent magnet, and once the disc rotates, what happens? This permanent magnet produces some magnetic field, or flux is being produced. As a pointer is deflected, this aluminum disc will be rotated, and the rotation of this aluminum disc. This can be considered as a conductor. Once this aluminum disc rotates under the influence of or in the magnetic field, some EMF will be produced as per Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. And this induced EMF, since it is a disc, you can easily find out closed paths here. So such kind of circulating currents will flow here, and these currents are known as eddy currents. Okay, and here this is not flowing like a conductor. Here the entire disk is taken as a single conductor, and you have currents flowing in circular manner. So this circular currents are known as eddy currents, and these eddy currents are produced due to this movement, rotation of this disk. So this disk is rotating under the influence of the magnetic field. Now what happens is that, based on Lenz's law, the effect will be opposing the cause. So once your eddy currents are produced, the eddy currents will be opposing the cause. The cause is the rotation of the aluminum disk. So once the effect is opposing the cause, this currents will be opposing the rotation of the disk, and your disk will be brought to the steady value, or the oscillations will be dampened out. Thus, the speed of the spindle is reduced and damping is provided. And when you think of the order of effectiveness, eddy current is most effective. Then you have fluid friction and air friction, and priority, based on priority, eddy current damping is most preferred. Then you have air friction and fluid friction. Since maintenance of fluid friction damping cases are more, or that system is more, you will rarely use this thing, fluid friction damping, and you generally go for eddy current damping if you have permanent magnet available. That is the important thing. If you have permanent magnets available, you can easily go for eddy current damping mechanism. Else you can go for other types of damping. So thank you so much.